In week 1, we'll be covering author's purpose, author's voice, and author's tone. Author's purpose. An author doesn't compose a novel, essay, or short story by mistake. Works of literature are written to accomplish something. Depending on the format, content, and context of a piece, it may be written to persuade, inform, or entertain. Remind yourself that the author's purpose is easy as pie. These are 3 primary categories of author's purpose, but many things fall under each of those umbrella terms. Develop the habit of asking yourself not just the meaning of what you read, but why it was written. Let's have a closer look at each category. You should take notes on the bullet points and pause the video to read and consider the examples for yourself. An author whose purpose is to persuade, usually, wants readers to believe something they may not have before. Wants readers to start or stop doing something such as buying a product or supporting a cause. Uses emotions to steer readers into a certain mindset. Consider this example. An author whose purpose is to inform, usually, teaches about a subject, presents factual, objective statements, helps readers make educated, fact-based decisions, and limits their own bias. Consider this example. An author whose purpose is to entertain, usually, writes with a narrative or storytelling style, uses imagery to clearly depict characters and settings, incorporates characters, conflict, and emotional investment, aims to convey a moral or lesson through events in the writing. Consider this example. Keep in mind that an author can have more than one purpose in mind, and it can be, for example, informative and entertaining at the same time. In most cases, however, you should be able to decide what the primary purpose of the author is by reading and thinking carefully. Take the simple quizzes in the links provided below this video to test your basic understanding of these concepts. Author's voice. An author's voice is the individual's writing style that makes him or her unique. It comes from a combination of the author's use of syntax, diction, punctuation, character development, dialogue, and more. Think about the sound of your best friend's voice and how it's unique. You can instantly identify that person's voice because of a combination of differences it has from other people's voices. Authors separate themselves with unique sentence, paragraph, and chapter lengths, methods of description, storytelling techniques, and more. Pause the screen and read each of these short examples to yourself. Ask yourself the difference between the works of Edgar Allan Poe and Ernest Hemingway. Can you tell these are written by 2 different authors? How? Did you notice that Hemingway's voice showed through short, deliberate lines with less strict structure, whereas Poe's lines were longer, written with a strict meter and a steady rhythm and rhyme scheme? These poets' choices of how to express themselves illustrate their own unique styles or their author voices. Author's tone. An author's tone is the attitude he or she has toward the subject matter being written about. If the author is criticizing someone or something, you could say that the author has a critical tone, but more specifically, how is the author being critical? Is he or she just pointing out factual reasons about why something or someone is wrong, or are sarcasm and mockery being used? In a short story, is the author using a soft and casual tone? Is it cynical or angry? Whatever emotion or attitude the author has toward the subject is the author's tone. Consider this example from the Walt Whitman article titled, "New York Amuses Itself, the 4th of July." What kind of tone do you think Walt Whitman took with this piece? Can you tell that Whitman seems impressed and annoyed at the same time? His decision to describe the noise as a nuisance, which is terrific, blends these 2 concepts. Metaphorically referring to the sound as a bombardment and comparing it to war along with other terms communicates that the tone he takes here is critical of that spectacle and that he is displeased by the noise. Consider the author's purpose, voice, and tone in everything we read in this class.